Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. I'm Kirtana. This is Rohan, and today we are going to talk about Sister Midnight, this wonderful horror indie project that we both got to see. What did you think of it?
I thought it was very creative, very different. I don't necessarily think I'm as high on it as you are. As spoiler, I mean, you already said it's wonderful.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was extremely unique. It kind of felt like if Wes Anderson directed a horror movie.
It was extremely stylistic for sure.
Yeah, and then I really loved the performances, especially. I mean, Radhika Apte is like probably my favorite actress working in India today. So it's always awesome to see her, and she always delivers.
Yeah. Like I said before, I love this film. It was so, it's an absurdist film for sure.
Yeah.
And it was so unapologetically out there that I don't know. So initially I tried to make sense of it. But then as time passed in the film, I was just like, it just felt like a roller coaster ride where you just have to kind of let it take you.
Yep.
For a little context, it's about a vampire.
Yeah.
She either becomes a vampire at some point or she was always a vampire. And we just see her trying to fit into our human society. It was more of a horror comedy, maybe.
Yeah, it's definitely a hybrid. I think it's like a very even balance. You know, something like What We Do in the Shadows is it's a horror. It's a horror comedy, but it's more comedy, I would say, than horror.
I thought thematically it was very interesting. They definitely touched upon a lot of little things here and there, but to me, I thought the heart of it was what is it to be human? What themes did you read into?
Actually, I want you to expand more on that.
I think right from the beginning, so our protagonist is Radhika Apte, right? And I think one of the first things she says is, I don't know how to run a household.
Yep.
And they live in this tiny little, like almost like a shack.
Yeah,
right
it's not
by
even a studio.
not even. It's like, I've never felt, I felt claustrophobic watching that. So they live in this little room, which is their house, and every morning her husband goes to work. And he comes back. So we start off as them being newlyweds. And I think right from the start, it's about her trying to figure out how to do this role that she's been given, right? The role of a wife, the role of a woman. Initially, she straight up tells him, hey, I don't know how to do this. And then he teaches her what he can. And then she goes next door and then she asks her neighbor how she can cook, or I guess she teaches her to cook very basic stuff. She learns that. And then eventually when her vampiric tendencies start taking over and she starts feeling the bloodlust, she kills animals and then she hides them. So I feel like at every juncture, she's just trying to fit into this mold around her. And I think what the director does is he just kind of pushes the extreme of how far away she can be from it, which I thought was very, very, very interesting.
Yeah, I agree, and I also found it like the animals coming back was also kind of funny, especially because they were always in stop motion.
Yep.
Yeah, actually, the first time it happened, I believe it was with the goat.
Yep, it was with the goat.
Yeah, I couldn't tell if is it deliberately stop motion or is CGI just terrible?
Right.
And then when it started happening more frequently, it's like, okay, it was deliberately in stop motion.
I think that's... Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go for it.
No, but I was going to say, and I feel like the animals coming back and kind of nearly exposing her secret at every 5 minutes is just, it's really her inability to fit into this box that she's being shoved into, or that society wants her to be shoved into.
Yeah. Earlier you used the word deliberate when you were describing the stop motion. I think that's a great way to describe the film. I think the way everything has been staged, like every frame, every angle felt very deliberate. There was a lot of grain in a lot of the shots. When like especially like in the like not only in the night scenes, like even in the day scenes, I noticed that there wasn't enough like brightness on screen. Um, and I feel like all of those were like almost stylistic choices. It does read like a very low budget like film in general, but I don't think it took away from the story, which I always appreciate. Um, I also thought that it like the fact that it felt so like taped together kind of just helped uh, just jump into her world because that's kind of how her world feels also.
Right.
Yeah. Very, very interesting. What did you think of her relationship with the lift person, with the elevator man?
I mean, I thought it was cute, and ultimately I felt like, and again, I'm not as high on this movie as you are.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Ultimately, I felt like it doesn't go like anywhere significant.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I yeah, I think I know he helps her out at the end, right?
Yeah, he does.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Um, but it does still feel like, I don't know. For me, it felt like if he's not in the movie, not much changes.
So I think that for me, I read that as kind of being the point. I think every day we come across people or things that we think we want to indulge in, but we often don't do anything about it, and they're just a part of our lives that just go away eventually. Um, which is kind of how I read it. I think that's why I was so like I don't even know if the director was intending for these things, but I was just so into it. I was like, yes, and this makes sense, and then this makes sense, and this makes sense. So for me, it was just a really like fun ride overall. With him, it was very interesting because again, it was a choice that she was making to fit in. Like she could have left her husband and like ended up with the elevator guy, but she chose not to because again, she wanted to fit in. You know what I mean?
Was there ever? Did you ever feel like there was a
I thought
spark
so.
between them?
I
Oh, okay.
thought so.
I never felt it that way because I
Didn't
feel
you?
like he's also much older, so he was almost like I felt it as almost like a surrogate father daughter relationship,
Oh, really?
where yeah, where
That's
he was
interesting.
like cared for her well being and stuff, but I
I
never
don't know.
felt a
That's
romantic connection.
oh, maybe that's just I don't know my issues. I don't know. But no, I saw. That's not how I read it. Especially when she didn't she at one point just climb up like a bunch of stairs to go see him like at the top. I think that's when I was like, oh, maybe she's into him. I don't know. Um, it was an interesting movie. I think lots of interpretations. I did find a Reddit thread where the director answered a bunch of questions. I'll add it to the link in the video so that if anyone wants to check it out, they can do that. Um, yeah, it was a very, very interesting film. Where did you watch it? Did you watch it online?
No, I watched it in the theaters.
Okay, where?
I watched it in Ontario.
Okay, got it. I was gonna say that I watched it at the Alamo in downtown LA.
Oh,
And
okay,
I
nice.
love that movie theater, and I wanted to talk about it because they do a bunch of screenings of not just like indie projects, but also like old school stuff. The day I went, they were also screening Jaws, um, and
Yeah,
and they have like a little like DVD section, and then they have a little bar. It was really cool. I really enjoyed going to that theater.
yeah. I've been to the Alamo before. It's a great experience. It's very far from where I live, so not something I can do on a
Yeah.
regular basis.
Yeah, no, I just thought I also kind of appreciated them starting it off with, hey, if you're on your phone or if we see you guys like making noise or something, we will ask you to leave. I wish more theaters did that. Um, and I think I've said
I
this
know it's
before.
something that the ArcLight used to do,
Oh, okay.
and they wouldn't have like a little animated thing. They would actually have a physical person walk in and tell you, like, please don't use your phone, stuff like that.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like in today's world where attention spans are so like small, it kind of helped to have that like looming figure telling you that to pay attention, at least for me. I think I've said this in earlier episodes where sometimes I kind of judge the overall picture of a film based on whether it was able to keep my attention for its entire runtime. Like, was I able to focus on it without like feeling the urge to go to my phone? I think Sister Midnight did that pretty effectively. Mostly because I feel like if I looked away for 2 seconds, I would completely lose the plot. It was very interesting.
Yeah, I don't look at my phone, but I kind of never do unless like if I feel it like buzzing and it's a call, then then it's like I might look at who it is, but I won't answer unless I feel like this is probably something really important. And obviously, if I'm going to answer, I'm going to leave the theater. Um, I thought the movie was fun. I don't necessarily, again, I didn't necessarily feel as invested as you did because I thought it started out really great and I thought there's moments in it that was awesome, but then it did feel, for me, after a while, it started to feel a little meandering to where I think this movie is just a little bit under 2 hours.
Yeah.
And it just, for me, it felt a lot longer than it actually was. Because I kept waiting for it to go somewhere, and I felt like it never did. And a lot of the beats I felt were kind of repeated.
Right.
So I got a little just tired.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying because I was going over some of the other reviews for the film, and and what you brought up is something that like quite a few other people echo, which is it felt like there were a ton of repeated beats. I feel like in some films you can tell, like when you can tell like who had the strongest voice. By that I mean, did the director have the stronger voice, or did the writer have the stronger voice, or did the actor have the stronger voice? Right? Like you take a movie like Pathan, right? It's Shah Rukh Khan had the strongest voice in that film.
Yes.
Or you take a movie like Trial of the Chicago 7, like Sorkin, the writer, had a stronger voice than Sorkin, the director. But if you look at a film like this, you can tell that direction took like precedence over everything else. And I think the repeated beats were perhaps a result of that, you know. I like initially when we see her routine and she just goes through the same thing over and over again, that to me definitely read like it was intentional and they wanted us to feel like, oh, she lives the same day over and over again. But like I said, after a point, it's like, you get it. Do you really want us to feel the same way that she feels? I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree that it is kind of the point. That yes, you are supposed to feel, the feeling that she is getting, where she is living the same day over and over again, and it is monotonous, and just like it just feels like she's going through her life without truly living it. So I agree with that. I just felt like watching it was also like boring.
Right. No, which is totally fair.
Yeah.
What did you think? I thought that I thought that the most interesting moments were the ones that she had with her neighbor. I thought that was a very cool relationship.
I wish she was in the movie a little bit more.
Yeah, me too. She goes away, like she goes out on a trip or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was kind of sad to see her go. I mean, she is an excellent performer. You know how you felt with the elevator person, where you were like, oh, it just kind of didn't go anywhere? That's how I felt between the neighbors. One thing did like get to me, which is the props that they used to make the dead body of her husband. Like they made him out of like Play-Doh or clay or whatever.
Yeah.
I cannot unsee that visual. It was so graphic and so disturbing, and I don't even know what to say about that.
Yeah, it was. It reminded me of Midsummer.
Yeah.
Towards the end, there's a very similar moment in that movie. I'm not gonna say exactly what it was if you haven't seen it, but that's what I thought of immediately. Just like instead of like bright and colorful, it is like it's very like dark.
Yet colorful in a very, I don't know. That was a very strong choice of the director to make. There were a lot of influences from like I saw a lot of Wes Anderson influences influences, like the way some of the shots were structured. It was funny how
Yeah.
you described it in the beginning because I think those were pretty clear. Even in terms of rhythm, I thought it was very, very like Wes Anderson.
Yep.
Um, I did. I did think that the color was a little inconsistent now that I think about it because in the beginning, I feel like it was a lot more like true to natural like life, and then towards the end it became a lot more cinematic. By that I mean like the greens were popping out a lot more, the blues were popping out a lot more.
Hmm.
Again, I wonder if that was intentional because she's getting further and further away from the human world.
I think so. I would agree. Yeah, I do believe it was intentional, and for that reason, it actually didn't bother me. And then I also noticed the movie also started taking place more at night, which is kind of like it is the vampire thing where you don't go into the sun. Although she did it seemed like she didn't like the sun,
Yeah,
but
but
she
eventually
wasn't like
that's a problem.
getting burnt by it.
Yeah. Yeah, the rules of the vampire world were a little confusing to me for sure because
Yes.
what kills people, what doesn't kill people, I'm not entirely sure. Because if she bit her husband, why didn't he turn into a vampire?
Yeah.
Or did she just keep him around to just suck his blood and not, and she just like didn't like bite him? I don't know. I can't
I
seem to
feel like
tell.
she expected him to turn into a vampire,
Ah, right, 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 right.
but then he ended up dying, and she just like,
Yeah,
and
had
then
to
I
deal
think
with.
she kind of just panics.
Yeah, the panic is great. The little shrine that she creates for him is very, very creepy. I also really liked how they involved that other neighbor lady who keeps coming and like poking her nose in everybody's business. Um, I thought that was very realistic. She was very annoying, and I didn't even feel
Yeah.
bad when she died. It was great. Um, the goat was an interesting choice for her to start off her vampiric journey. I did not see that coming at all. Before I watched the film, I saw someone's tweet which said spoilers without context, and it was just an image of a goat. It was very scary when these animals started coming back to life. I know it was supposed to be a metaphor and all that, but I was just like, what the hell? Uh, which
Oh,
I
I
think
thought
was
it was kind
my.
of funny.
No, I
My
mean,
theater was cracking up.
no, my thing is, yeah, I mean, I get that, oh, yeah, it's funny, like, on the face, but for me, it was like, but, like, why are they coming back to life? Like, she bit them.
Yeah.
And then I also really, really liked the final reveal that she was a vampire. I mean, you kind of see it coming, like, through the film, but then at the very end, when she's in the all black clothes and she's on the train, I
Hmm.
thought that was very cool. I've never seen a vampire on the Indian railway system before.
Yeah. I kind of knew that she was a vampire because um, when I heard about this movie, I saw somewhere. I don't think it was the IMDb logline, but somewhere it was described as a vampire movie.
Ah,
So I did not get to enjoy that reveal,
right.
and I do wonder if it kind of clouded my experience with the movie because I was just like waiting for the full vampire turn the entire time.
See, I didn't have that context. I figured out the vampire thing when I realized that at one point I just realized that oh she just doesn't like human food doesn't agree with her, and then I realized oh like slowly the story is just happening at night, and then obviously like she started sucking the blood from animals, so that like I think really cemented it for me. So no, the reveal was very cool. We were at the Alamo, so even though I thought I knew that there was a vampire, I couldn't tell any of my friends that I think it's a vampire because then we would have been kicked out. But the reveal was very satisfying. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I thought other than the runtime, I can't really think of anything that bumped for me. Yeah.
Um,
Sorry, go ahead.
what do you think of the whole discourse online on this being this not counting as an Indian film and it's actually a British film because it is produced by a British production company?
No, it happens in India. It happens to Indian characters. It's an Indian story. I think we should be making our decisions based on story more than anything else.
Yeah, it just yeah.
I don't know, that's a silly, it's one of those like random arguments where they're like, oh, if you're not like born in India, you're not like Indian because you're born in a different country, like you're not Indian enough. And I'm like, what does that even mean? That's so redundant. Like, it's like I hear that argument a lot, especially online, and it's like, I don't know, it makes no sense to me. I think it's like where the story comes from is what should matter.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's like, I mean, yes, technically it is a British production company, but Indian director, um, actors that they're not. It's not even like a Slumdog Millionaire where, like Dave Patel primarily works in Hollywood. It's like no, Radhika Apte primarily works in India, and the entire movie is in Hindi. I
Yeah.
would consider it an Indian film.
I think it should come down to what the writer thinks it is, because that's where everything starts.
Paneer is like, oh, it's technically British because it was like in England, but it's like yeah, but like
It doesn't work that way.
yeah, look at who made it, what inspired it, and all that.
Exactly. You know how they say that before you start writing a film, you should ask two questions like, why are you writing this film and why are you writing this film? I think the answers to those questions will tell us what movie this is.
What is that? What do you mean? I've never heard anyone say that
So
other than you just now.
no, so it's why are you writing this film? Like, why are you choosing to tell this story? Like, what's in it that's cool enough for you specifically to write this story? So it's a voice question, really. It's like,
Okay.
so why are you writing this story is why is this subject matter important to you? And why are you writing this story is why are you important to this subject matter? Like, why is your voice making a difference for this subject matter? So I think if you get the answers to, in general, like if we were to ask the writers this question and they gave us the answer, that would give us more clarity on what they consider this film to be.
Yeah, but honestly, even if the writer came out and was like, "Oh, this is a British movie," I disagree. Like,
Right. Uh-huh.
yeah, like I just there's plenty of debate online when it comes to what comics, movies, and sometimes the original writers will chime in, and they and fans go, "Yeah, I don't care." Like there's this whole debate about the Killing Joke, which is a Batman comic, and at the end it's like there's a hey, does Batman just kill the Joker, which is something that he never does. And Alan Moore, the writer, he came out and he gave a definitive answer. He was like, I can't remember if he said yes or no, but he gave out an answer, and the debate never stopped.
Right.
Because ultimately it is not in the text.
Right.
So, it's even if the writer were to say, "Oh, this is a British film," it's I don't. Even though that is the writer does not necessarily get the final say when it's not in the text.
Right. No, I see what you mean. And I think that's one of the cool things about any art where it's like all you can really do as a creator is like do your thing and put it out there. Like how the world perceives it is not up to you.
Yep.
While I agree with that, I don't agree with the David Lynch philosophy of I'm just not going to explain it. I think it's cool to explain intent. But, it's cool to see that there's like multiple interpretations. What has the consensus been online?
It's not really a consensus. It's just whenever you look at a video about the film, the person in the video might go, "Oh, when they're introducing this is an Indian film, starring like Apte, directed by Karan, not Johar. I forget his last name." And you scroll down to the comments, and there's always going to be like, "Well, technically, it's actually a British movie."
Yeah. Comment sections are always a blast. Yeah. There'll always, I think any video I see, like anywhere, there'll be one Salman Khan fan being like, just, it doesn't even matter if like, it doesn't matter if there's no context or anything. They'll just be like, why is the best Or if there's any Aishwarya Rai videos, they'll be like, "Oh, she left gold, she left diamonds for some silver or something," saying that yeah. It's always fun. It's always fun to see and indulge in that stuff. Um, that being said, what would you score this film?
I'm just going to remind everyone how our scale works. We use the script cover scale of pass when we don't think it's a good movie, consider when we think it's pretty decent, and recommend when we think it's great. For me, my opinion on Sister Midnight is I thought Radha Gapte was great. I really loved the style of it. I did just feel like it was a bit repetitive, and I did get a little bored. So for that reason, I'm going to give it a consider. I still think it's a really fun watch, though.
Yeah. I mean, no surprise, I'm going to recommend this film. I'm going to give this film a recommend. It was a lot of fun for me. The jokes worked, the themes worked, and it was a delightful experience. All right.
Yep.
Do you want to talk about other stuff we're watching or not really?
Yeah, we can talk about it.
What else have you been watching?
I've been watching Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood. This is the first watch that I'm going through, and it took a while for the show to really grow on me. But like, especially really when you get into the later half of season 1 and in season 2, it goes from just like really fun action adventure to stuff that feels very relevant today. I'm not going to tell you like the big political issue that it will remind you of, but there is a big plot point that reminds me of something happening in the world today, and it's crazy that it feels like it's made today when this show is, I want to say like in the mid 2000s when it came out. Yeah.
I think it just goes to show that as humans, we just keep repeating our mistakes over and over again. Because I'm sure when they wrote this, it was super relevant to something that was happening at the time. Same thing with V for Vendetta, right? We were talking about this when we did that.
Yeah.
Very cool. I mean, I've heard about the show a lot, and I've been recommended it tons of times, so maybe I'll start.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. I watched
Just watch Brotherhood, not the regular film. Not the
Okay.
regular Full Metal Alchemist. Yeah.
Okay, I will remember that. I watched this film called Hit 3. It's on Netflix. It's a Telugu film. It was interesting. I haven't watched any of the other films in the franchise. It was super bloody. It was like a cop gangster story thing. I did think that if we strip it of all of the like general masala that it had, it still had like interesting story. So if anyone wants to check it out, it's on Netflix. But I will like add the caveat that it was extremely violent. Like he wears a red shirt and then it's just red. I mean, he wears a white shirt and it's just red by the end. Like it's like really bloody. So just heads up on that. Like my face was like 90% covered throughout. So yeah, just something to think about.
All right. Yeah, it's cool that it has a good story. I did see it pop up, but then I'm like, oh, this just looks like a generic action movie.
Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised also.
Nice.
But also, like, wall poster films make some really cool stories. So their work is worth checking out. With that, we come to the end of this week's episode of the Pages to Pixels podcast. I'm Kirtana.
I'm Rohan.
And we will see you again next week with a brand new episode. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.